Tried to kick you where it hurts. You got up, you kept going. That was in there.
I think they know the writing's on the wall. Maguire, Senior, back to Maguire. Gary Maguire for Leeds. The young hero to win the grand final,
Hi everybody, welcome to the Lot Pod, the Leeds Rhinos Lot 17A podcast, kindly sponsored by ACD&B, who are a branding and creative design agency based in Farsley, Leeds. They create standout brands, so for any companies out there that need a brand new logo or a brand refresh, just get in touch with ACD&B. Thank you as always to them for sponsoring us. Not only do they sponsor the podcast, but they also design, print, create, edit the whole of the Lot 17A fanzine as well. This is, unfortunately, the match review panel for Magic Weekend, Leeds Rhinos versus Castleford Tigers. Joining me, as always, my right-hand man, my co-host, but our amazing stats man, Statman Rhys.
I'm a stat man.
Freeze.
Rhys, you went to Magic.
I did indeed.
How was it?
Aside from the last game on the Saturday, which unfortunately we are going to have to spend
Oh, we're going to say
an
we don't
hour
have to
talking
talk
about
that if you don't want to.
Yeah. Honestly, the day was absolutely awesome. Like,
Excellent.
The whole thing was great. I think we got to there on the Leeds Rhinos buses about 10 to 11. For some reason, my dad ended up sitting next to a blow-up sex doll on the bus, so that was always quite interesting. But yeah, met loads of people, saw David Grant, spent quite a lot of time with Laurie, spent some time with Chris from ACD&B. So yeah, loads of, and it's just great fun just talking to loads of different rugby league fans in it. And it's just good fun. Sunny day.
Am I right in saying that's your first Magic, Rhys?
It is actually my first Magic, yeah.
And it could potentially be your last.
Well, we're going to talk about it later, but Roger Jones has just been saying stuff on Sky, which are quite interesting. So we'll come on to that a bit later, actually.
We'll put a pin in that. So this is the match review panel for Leeds versus Castleford from the Magic Weekend. See it as a free therapy session. See it as, we're all friends here. We're all hurting. It was a bad performance. We are gonna really stick the boot in, I think, and get stuck into them. Who's joining us today? Two guests.
We've got Duncan and Phil. How are we, gents?
Good, thank you.
Phil, we all right?
Had better weekends. Yeah, better weekends. Especially with that team from down the road. Yeah, terrible, wasn't it?
Do you want to talk about something else, everybody? I would genuinely rather talk about Leeds United now for an hour.
Let's talk about Wakefield. We'll talk about Hull.
Talk about the Tory government. I'd rather talk about Philip Schofield than Leeds Rhinos for an hour. Honestly, I would. It's true. Now, we've been doing this podcast, I'm going to say 2 years now. This Lot Pod has been around. I think it's around 2 years or 2 years in August. Let's call it 2 years. We always start with positives. We always have. Now, even under Richard Agar and that dreadful start last year, I could scrape a positive from somewhere, be it, the weather was nice or whatever. I think this is the first time I'm struggling to pick any positive at all. Because I'm kind of gonna, I'll go through and we'll, as I usually do. But if you've nothing, you can just say nothing or say no, and then we'll just dive right in. So Rhys, In Lot Pod style, we always start with positives. Do you have a positive?
I think just the fact it was a good day out. In fact, apart from the last game,
You got a positive.
I think the biggest positive was seeing a Wigan fan wearing a Wigan shirt with Borough 7 M&D for the back,
wow.
which was pretty. I went up and spoke to him, and I just said, just out of interest, like, why do you do this? Well, it's just because it's rugby league, isn't it? And it was just that little comment, which I just thought was absolutely awesome. So I gave him a quick hug. So that's probably my positive, I think.
I like that. That's warmed my heart. Fair play, that Wigan fan. Phil, do you have a positive?
Probably that we haven't added to our ever-growing injury list. I think that's the only positive I can take out of it. But yeah, we've come out of it. No more players in the treatment room, I think, as yet.
Duncan, have you got a positive for us?
Drum roll, please, for Duncan.
Ledski was Ledski's best game for me since he's been back.
Agreed.
He made a clean break, did Ledski? I don't think anyone knew what was happening when he made that clean break.
Even Mick.
Even Mick included in that.
Oh, bugger, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
On to the nitty-gritty. I don't know where to start, and I think in usual Lot Pod fashion, we'll jump from here, we'll jump from there, and as we rip it apart, we'll kind of, in true Lot Pod fashion, just kind of. But I think a starting point would be the team sheet. How did you feel? We have Phil. We'll start with you. You mentioned it. We have got a few injuries. Did you feel that even though we do have those injuries that we mentioned, did you feel that squad should still have beaten Cass?
Yeah, definitely. Especially after what we showed the other week against St Helens. And I think that's one of our biggest problems where we can't sort of like string any performance together. I think we've got the quality in the players and the depth in certain positions. And, Rowan Smith does move people around a bit and he's tried different combinations here, there and everywhere. But especially how Castleford have been and how we've been recently. But I think we still had the power and the skill and everything else and the nous to turn them over yesterday.
Do you agree with that, Dunk?
I agree we should be beating them with whatever team we put out. Because Cass's best players are 3 years past, or 3 to 5 years past the prime.
Yeah.
So I think from that point of view, you should always beat Cass. The only way Cass are going to beat you is if you let them back into the game, and at every opportunity we had, we let them back into the game. Was I confident? Yeah. No, but you know what you're going to get when you play Cass. They're going to try hard, and that's it. And then you're going to get dropped. Well, Rhys won't have heard him, but then for us that were watching it on Sky, you're going to hear John Wells spout a load of crap for 80 minutes.
That's not exclusive to Leeds, Dunk. That's just every time he's on Sky.
But I think with the selection, I think the one thing that is doing my head in a little bit with Rowan is when you've got someone so bad like Daryl Alforts, why are we having him in the team? And then arguably one of the best wingers in Super League at fullback, why not just have Nene and Ash on the wings? And then I'd rather see Luke Hooley play.
Me too.
I'd rather see a prop forward on the wing than Daryl Alforts because they're going to give us much.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
He's completely right though, because I mean Daryl, he got the try and it was a walk-in.
And then he shushed the Cass fans when he scored. What is he doing?
No right to shush them after his performance at the Jungle earlier on in the season. And you can only do that sort of thing if you're going to back it up. If you're a player that will always back it up. Like Harry Newman, he could do whatever he wants because frankly, he would go and back it up. Probably same with someone like a Ledski or anyone else like that. But I just didn't think there was any need for it. But then, yeah, I was disappointed not to see Hooley start. I thought he didn't have a great game against KR, which we all know. But against Jordan Abdul in that stadium, it's not no fullback has an easy game. And I think he needs an opportunity to prove himself. And it was just a bit gutted he didn't get that opportunity. But like Duncan said, Ash is a world-class winger, an England world-class winger. Play him in his best position. Even if that means and then putting Tyndall on the other wing. The only sort of positive from the lineup I really thought was really seeing Austin back. I thought Austin played well. Austin got 2 assists. His passes for the 2 assists were great. But Myler wasn't really noticeable either.
Dreadful.
Which was a shame. But yeah, I think the big miss was not putting Luke Hooley and just having Daryl Alfords in the 21, to be honest, is a big miss.
Do you agree with that, Phil? Do you think even if we play Hooley on the wing, do you think that's still a better option than this current Daryl Alfords and the form he's in?
Well, whilst waiting for Phil to come in, I'd rather have Lewis Roberts on the wing. Because I didn't think Lewis Roberts was that bad, to be fair. And I know he made some early errors, but he actually got into the game a lot better. He made a try-saving tackle, held someone up. So I didn't think Lewis had a bad game. I'd rather see him on the wing. But I mean, Phil, I don't know if you can hear us now, but would you have Luke in?
Yeah, I wouldn't have Daryl Alfords anywhere near a rugby ball, a rugby ground, Leeds Rhino training complex. He is absolutely dire. And I know we've said it before, but he did the same thing at Castleford when he played on the wing, shooting out the line. He did it twice yesterday, and cost us 2 tries. But he's just I shut my eyes every time he goes near the ball. I just like I
do, to be honest.
I'm just thinking what's he gonna do? I don't even think he knows what he's gonna do.
I was speaking to quite a few Cass fans yesterday before the game, and I was saying, like, were you disappointed when Daryl left? Like, no, we were so happy that we got rid of him. It was like, is your top try scorer, top meter maker? I said, yeah, but we have to watch him week in, week out. It wasn't a reflection.
I don't know what he's got. I don't know what he's got on somebody. He must have the best agent in rugby league. Because he keeps getting these gigs and everything else. But yeah, he's just not good enough. Not good enough. But
he got caught out for at least 2 or try. I mean, he missed 3 tackles on the night. He only attempted 5, so he missed 60% of the tackles he attempted to make. And I'd probably say at least 2 of those 3 missed tackles cost us a try because they were in the lineup.
He doesn't like he's got no awareness of where he is. And do you know what I mean? He don't his decision making.
He doesn't know what planet he's on.
Yeah, I don't even think he knows he's playing rugby when he's on pitch. But he just, like I said, he just goes flying in and leaving massive gaps. And Castleford
he puts the fear of God into like the centre and the back rower on that side.
Yeah,
you can just see it as soon as they're coming
in. God into
down
me, and I'm sat home on my couch,
and they're just thinking, "What's Daryl going to do?"
Every time he goes near the ball, I'm wincing, thinking, especially when a kick goes up.
How he dropped that ball in second half, first half even. Were it first half? Yeah. I mean, how? How?
I mean, Chris in the comments, who's a Salford fan, is saying they were happy to when he left Salford, but surprised he still gets Super League contracts. I mean, he did do his token drop the ball because he always drops one high ball a game, doesn't he? Like, on that, right on token things, Jamie Donaldson got a penalty for a high tackle.
Yes, he did. I think he got
positive.
2, actually.
That was a positive. We haven't had one all year.
Return to form there, Donaldson. Thanks for coming. Welcome back. One of my biggest worries in this game, apart from our appalling attitude, application, and effort, which was all 3, the hat trick of just non-existent. It was deplorable. This whole game, it made me so sick to my stomach. The whole from kickoff, pretty much, was the fact. Did we have a 10-point lead when Aledzki went over? Yeah. Now, prior to that, the game I thought we were awful. And to be honest, I think at Magic Weekend, I'm not sure how our record is, but whenever it is Magic, I always just assume we play crap there. I don't know why we just don't seem to turn up. Not sure about how if that stacks up or it's just
we've got the 4th best record before the weekend. We had the 4th best record at Magic.
Well, that's me then. So, but when we had that, even prior to that, I'm saying our application effort, everything was non-existent. It was deplorable, disgusting. Even when we got that 10-point lead when Aledzki went over, this might just be me, I'll ask you guys in a second. When Oleski went over, I thought that's the game. Did you two agree with that? And that you three agree with that in that moment? I thought that's the game now. We've played, cover your ears, George. We've been shit since that moment, but now we've gone over. I thought we're going to get at least 2 more, and this will be, we'll put this to bed. We'll cover your ears, George. We were shit to that point, but from Oleski scoring it, we'll go on and we'll comfortably win this game. Do you agree with that, Rhys?
Absolutely. I wasn't going to say we're in control, and I wouldn't say we were a far better team, and nor was I saying
we squeezed ahead, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, but we put ourselves in a position, despite playing that poor, to win the game and see it out. And I didn't feel like anyone took the responsibility on that game management to close that game out. And, I think in the last 20 minutes, we must have dropped the ball on our own 4 or 5 times. I think Lewis did one. I can't remember who else did it, but there must have been 4 or 5 instances where we lost our own ball and gave them field position just needlessly. And it's just that, and it's so annoying when we have the effort from last week, when we still made 15 errors last week, but those errors kind of went missing when the effort that was played across the all 80 was phenomenal. But those errors are much more noticeable when that effort's not put in. But it was just shocking, really, to see. I'm trying to see how many errors we made in the game. 16? Yeah, 16 errors on the day, which is just too high again. But just no leadership. No one took the game by the bull of the horns to close that game out.
Do you agree with that, Duncan? Did you think that when Oleski went over and we were 10 points up, did you think we were going to go on and win this game?
Oh yeah, we should have done. But then same again when Cass went over and made it 24-20. It was like, right, we're back in a game, and then we just seemed to panic. We made really basic, silly errors, and I get when you've got youngsters in the team, like performances will be inconsistent and stuff, and things like that, and they're going to make errors. But it's not even the youngsters. Like, why did Nene McDonald try and take someone on the outside and get bundled into touch? It was just, it was dumb. It was dumb, stupid rugby. The only way Cass are going to score is being 20 or 30 metres out from your own line. You could literally, if we'd have had Simfield in that game or a Maguire or someone like that, it'd be a long kick downfield on the 3rd or 4th tackle when you're not playing very well. Put them on the back foot and say, right, go 80, 90 metres against us. It's not going to happen. But we just haven't got that player. I know Rhys said earlier that Austin played well, but that's when you have an overseas quota halfback, and he is the only halfback because Myler's an average fullback, and he's never been a decent. He's dreadful at 7. So Austin's running the show himself. He has got to run the show. He can't allow these other players to just dip in and out. He's got to be commanding that ball, going, right, we're going nowhere. I'm just going to lump it downfield and get after it, and let's just back our defence to keep them out.
I think that's the disappointing thing, Duncan. And I think Austin did have a good game, and he created those 2 assists. But when I'm saying no one took the responsibility on their own shoulders to close that game out, I'm fully expecting that player to be Austin.
Yeah.
And we've seen him do that before as well. And it was just, but admittedly, he probably didn't get to the 4th or 5th tackle for him to make that kick because we were dropping the ball every set in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. But again, I think it's when we get beat in these tight, close games, it's very evident that we've got one of the worst spines in the competition. And that's when it shows. We have literally 0 halfbacks at the club that are capable of, like, all the talk. Like last year, Rowan had a free shot and he got us to the grand final. This year, there was a little bit of expectation going into the year of being top 4, top 5, certainly top 6. That would have been the aim for every Leeds fan and probably player. They're miles off it at the minute, absolutely miles off it. And they get beat week after week by teams that have got good structure, can play to a decent structure and play behind halfbacks who will kick corners. And we get beat week after week after week by making silly errors. When it comes off, Rowan's rugby looks good. But at the minute, he's got too many square pegs in round holes. And I think he's too rigid with his team selections. And it needs to be, don't move 5 or 6 players for the sake of bringing one in. Right, you've lost a winger, replace a winger. We're moving too many people around, and it just leads to what it is, clunky, disjointed, but that again for me, when we're talking about attitude, he should be addressing that.
Do you agree with that, Phil?
Yeah, we've lacked direction for a while now, haven't we? And like you said, just that, as Duncan touched on, that basic game management. If you look at every other Super League club, the halfback combos, what they've got, get the ball kicked down, get it down the field. Let's close this game out. Like you said, that 10-point lead, 17 minutes left. I thought if we get another one here, that's it. We've got a little bit of breathing space, a couple of scores. Cass have got to do it. And if we manage the game right, we close it out. And I know Rowan said in post-match press conference, he wasn't happy with the execution of stuff and things like that and the shift plays. But it's like, where's that urgency and where's that desire? What we saw from a couple of weeks ago, the other week against St Helens. If you take that into every game, but we should be closing them games out. And like you said, especially at Magic Weekend against Castleford, we've got a bit of a patched up team, but that'd we'd come away from it with them 2 points in the bag if we just managed that game properly. But I agree with what Duncan said there. We're moving players around to accommodate certain other players. And he's right, put somebody in that similar position. Just drop them straight in.
When Duncan's talking about spine in terms of when you're balancing that and expectations, I reckon Lee's expectations this year was to be just in that bottom half, top of the bottom half, realistically. But their spine is better than ours. Pape has been brilliant this year. Lachlan Lamb has been brilliant. Reynolds has not been too bad, but their spine has put them in the position where they are because they're the leading players in those positions. And at the moment, I just don't think we've got. I think you could argue we've got 2 out of the 4, but the problem is that one of them's not here every week or has been injured, and one's still young and learning a position. But I suppose the question is, for me, is the attitude on the pitch the player's fault, or is it Rowan's fault, or is it a mixed?
I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I know, like I said, last night, I'm like, Rowan, they think the job for him and all that type of stuff. I think he's probably a really shrewd coach, and he obviously knows the game. But I just don't think he can get it out of the players what he's got. And I'm not sure if there's some kind of disjointed, whether he's setting his expectations too high with the players, what he actually has got within them positions, and they can't execute what he's asking them to do. And then it's coming out in poor performances. But we all know individually, them players are capable of doing it. Or most of them are. But I don't know. I think, I know we've been here before, but I think there's probably some a little bit underlying or some undercurrent behind the scenes, really, what we're not sort of like seeing, and I think that's reflecting on performance in the pitch as well.
Do you think there's space, Duncan, for? I don't know. We just lost Duncan then as I'm about to bring him in. Do you think there's space, Rhys, for? I kind of look at our coaching setup, and we've got Chev Walker and is it Scott Griggs, and kind of newish assistant coaches there. Do you think there's space for someone? I don't know. Maybe not as such an additional coach, but a director of rugby. Do you think a director of rugby coming in, or do you think that's something that's not required?
I don't. I suppose the question is, in terms of director of rugby, who's responsible for recruitment? If that's Rowan, then that's Rowan. And Rowan's, I know, and Duncan's right. Our expectation is top 6, but this is Leeds Rhinos. Our minimum expectation should always be top 6. In reality, it should be top 4. And if we don't hit top 6 this year, which at the moment, and Duncan's completely right, we're not going to get there. Because the way we're performing at the moment, the inconsistent week in, week out, we are going to be an 8th or 9th place finish. But Rowan's big opportunity is in the off-season when all these players are coming off contract. He's got a vast amount of cap space compared to what we had last year where he can make the decisions. So director of rugby is not necessarily a role we need to bring in if they feel that Rowan is handling that recruitment department and he's doing it. Would another coach help? I'd like to see Rhys Lovegrove. He's available at the moment after he left Keighley. He played at KR for a long, long time. He knows Rowan as well because I think Rowan coached him at Bradford.
All right.
So I wouldn't be offended with Rhys Lovegrove coming in, but again, he's not exactly an elite and experienced coach that changed things around. At this point last year, it was a player that turned our season around, and that player was Zach Hardacre. So if I think we're going to change our season to be in that top 6, it has to be a player.
A player parachuting in. Would
not
you agree with that,
member.
Duncan?
I think Rowan needs someone as well that's got. I mean, obviously we're not privy to what goes on behind closed doors, but it galls me, and I put this in our group chat last night. How the hell's Danny Maguire at OKR? Like,
did you hear that silence
Hang on,
there? It felt like
hang
it was an hour, that, didn't it?
I was trying to find the bell. That's why there was
Just
silence.
definitely-
I am going to go on a
that
bit of a
bell?
rant about this because their recruitment, everything to do with that club at the moment is being run better than what Leeds is.
Yeah, you're completely right.
On the field, they are playing much better, solid rugby without Jordan Abdul. If we lose Caesar's probably half a player, but if we lose someone within our spine, the drop off is massive. And I think someone like Maguire, who knows the club, knows the setup, knows what it's like to play for Leeds, understands the expectation of the South Stand and stuff like that. It's these sort of guys that we need to be tapping into and keeping in the club. Not like, all due respect to Griggs. Yes, he played Super League, which is a better level than any amateur could play, but he had a solid career, nothing special. You are talking about a generational talent that is sat at Hull KR drip feeding all his knowledge into their next generation instead of ours, and it's absolutely scandalous.
Was it not Scott Griggs that Ryan Hall left for dead at Huddersfield in 2010?
Yeah.
What a back drive.
15,
Every
yeah.
time that name's mentioned, that's his whole career to me. I don't know what he did before or after. I just remember him being,
because
just
I've seen a lot of posts about Rowan out again. The same posts weren't there last week, but they were the week before. Fans are emotional and reactive, but I haven't seen anyone really come out and say, this is what I would do. This is the solution. This is the coach that I would bring in. Now, Duncan, if you're saying that is someone like Danny Maguire, do you think he's got enough experience? Because he's never had a head coaching job. He's only ever been an assistant at KR, but obviously he knows the club inside out. He knows what the South Stand means.
I'm not saying Maguire for head coach, by the way.
No. What he's saying, Rhys, I think you've completely misinterpreted what he said. He's saying Maguire to come back to where
the coaching setup.
To play number 6. Sorry, I thought, to play.
You misunderstood there.
I'm not saying Maguire for head coach at all, but it's a very lazy way to say who's out there. If George wasn't listening to the podcast, I would swear at this point, but we're Leeds Rhinos. We're the biggest club in the league.
In the
world. Go get who you want to coach. If they want to replace Rowan Smith, and by the way, we sacked Brian McDermott, we sacked people for far worse than losing 6 out of 7 games.
And twice to Cass. I'm sorry. Cass have won 3 games this year, 2 against
losing
us.
twice to
Don't worry about Cass. They're inbred and they're run by a PE teacher. We're a little bit better than that.
And we've got Wakey next week.
But we should be this thing of who's available. It's like when we're saying we need halfbacks. Who's available? Bollocks that. Go give 200,000 to Salford and just take Brodie Croft off their hands. Why wait and say who can we get? Go out and get someone. Someone at that club is paid to deal with recruitment and retention, and at the minute that person isn't doing their job, whoever that may be.
On that though, Duncan, in Rowan's press conference, he mentioned recruitment and retention, and he's responsible for it. He said it's an ongoing thing.
Huh?
But I agree. Let's go out and get somebody. Our recruitment over the past couple of seasons has just been non-existent. All these other clubs can seem to attract quality halfbacks, quality wingers, centres, etc., all that quality players, and we don't seem to be able to do that anymore now.
Adam says in the comments, and this is something I agree with. We'll see if the panel do. Adam says, I say this a lot, but the biggest mistake we made was not re-signing Ryan Hall when he came back from Australia. I agree with that. I think he should have come straight back in. Rhys, do you think that's a mistake? Yeah.
I mean, he obviously he struggled with his injuries in Sydney, didn't he? But the guy's getting better and better, and he's 35 now, isn't he? And there's no reason when they're giving him another year. But Ryan Hall and Ash Hanley on the wings is just the two of the best Super League wingers. That's not really fair, is it? But yeah, the reason why we didn't do it, I don't know. But we should really.
Wasn't our salary cap a mess? Shock. But wasn't our salary cap a mess at that point and too full to sign him?
I still think our salary cap is a mess now.
It must
it is. It's been a mess.
We couldn't do anything in the off-season this year to really do anything with it.
Precisely. So it's still a mess now from 3-4 years ago. So it's only really this off-season that we can really press the reset button, with the forecourt.
But you can't go out and sign 6 or 7 freebies and you cannot go out now and sign a halfback combination that will automatically propel the club to where they should be and want to be. You're not going to do that unless you go out and spend cash, because there ain't the 6s and 7s available to do that.
Oh, that's what I'm going to say. What if we went out and blew that £200,000 that you just mentioned on Brodie Croft? That'd be an easy fix.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that sorts your 6 out, doesn't it? I mean,
they don't need money, Salford, Duncan.
3 years ago, we were meant to be offering £500,000 for Jake Connor.
Oh, thank God we didn't get him.
We'd get Jake Connor now for no.
A pack of fags.
I think a pack of fags. I think Huddersfield are about to terminate his contract after today.
Anderson has said he's going to. He's dropping someone. He's dropping one of his leaders, but I think he might be too Lollahea.
He's going to drop one of Lollahea.
Sorry,
yeah. Rhys, do you have some stats?
I do. I've not tweeted them today because I've been depressed for about 24 hours, so I've not really wanted to tweet anything about it. But meters wise, we had 6 players over 100. Nene with 170. He had 11 meters per carry actually as well. Cameron Smith had 154 meters.
Wow.
Rhys Martin and Ash Hanley had 106 meters. Blake had 102 and Daryl Alfords had 101. In terms of tackles, Cam Smith took his crown back this week and he made 47 tackles. Jared had 36, McDonald 33, and Dono had 32. Tackle busts, Nene with 7.
Mm-hmm.
Rhys Martin 5, Aledsky 4. Aledsky made 98 meters, so just missed off the 100 barrier there. Cameron Smith with 3, and then Lewis, Blake, Hanley, and Alfords all had 2 each. From a missed tackles perspective, James McDonald missed 6, surprisingly. Aledsky missed 4, and then Rhys Martin, Cameron Smith, Ash Hanley, and Daryl Alfords all missed 3. As I mentioned, Daryl only attempted 5 tackles on the day, and he missed 3 of them. And then in terms of errors, we had 16 in total. 3 of them came from James Bentley, who I actually thought that was probably one of the better James Bentleys we've seen this year.
I agree.
I thought he actually played really well. And then McDonald, Martin, Alfords, McDonald, Sangare all had 2 errors each. And from that perspective, so that was the stats really. Obviously, Austin adds to his assist total, which is
2
really
more.
good.
Yeah,
he's still up there in the top of the league at the moment. But I think Aledsky was pleasing stats to see, but I think Cameron, I didn't realise Cameron ran for 154 metres off 25 carries. The most carries as well that he had. So he had the most tackles, most carries, and most metres, did Cameron.
They just need to come out and make him captain and just say that he's captain.
Exactly. And I think that's probably like this experimentation, and whether there's something to do with leaving on this, I don't know. And whether that would have made a difference yesterday, I don't know. I kind of want a natural leader to stand up anyway, but he is the captain. He plays in the middle. He's the one leading from the front in the tackle, leading from the front in attack. Just make him captain. Just make it.
Do you think Do you think it's something that he'd thrive on, Phil? If it, being a Leeds lad, a Leeds player, he loves us. Do you think if the club were to say to him, "We're at 13, right? You are now officially the captain." I think personally, his performances would just go through the roof. Do you agree with that, Phil?
Yeah, I know that he wanted a leadership group, didn't he? But as Rhys just said there, all his attributes and all his performances, everybody looks to him for the leader. And like you said, if he had that official title of captain, I think he'll just carry on going from strength to strength. His performance is that of a captain. He leads from the front in everything he does, and being one of the most consistent players this season, despite as poor performances, really. So I'd make him captain. I said that straight away, that we need a captain, we need a figurehead within the team, and I think Cam Smith is that player.
You can still have a leadership group and then have a captain, though. You can still have a leadership group, which is Ash Handley, Cam Smith, Rhys Martin, Blake, and Oledsky. You can still have that leadership group there, but one that stands above them all being Cam.
Yeah, and like you said, you'd expect them players you just named there. You should expect them to stand up when it's getting tough and they've got to dig into trenches and stuff. They've been around the club long enough now to know what it means to everybody and everything else, and they should stand up. But I'd have Cam Smith as captain, but then I would have them within that leadership sort of like framework or group or whatever. But they all should stand up and be counted when it matters.
Yeah, Rhys, you mentioned James Bentley there. I thought his introduction to the game when he came off the bench was everything we needed. He changed us, scored, added loads. Do you think that's the kind of James Bentley that we need to see more of? That sounds like a daft question, but we haven't seen it this year yet.
We haven't seen the best of James Bentley we saw at the second half of last year. And yesterday was, and there's an opportunity obviously with Gannon out as well, that him and McDonald playing together. I know they're very similar, and maybe I was a bit like, what do you want to with them? But I think I would quite happily have two of them because they're both just defensive maulers, aren't they? They're just all over the pitch making tackles everywhere. And a bit of that nitty gritty, a bit of that attitude that we might need back in the side. So, because I think McDonald, when we talk about recruitment, I think McDonald's been an absolute exceptional piece of recruitment. But Bentley was brilliant yesterday, and he should be starting ahead of Dono really any day of the week.
Jesus Christ, everyone should be starting ahead of him.
Just a little bit of a rod there, just a little bit of a dangle, and straight away, bang. On it. No, Bentley was good yesterday. So but hopefully we'll see more of the same from him.
Is saying Jesus Christ swearing, Duncan?
No.
Right, fair enough. I'll have to pull him up there. His first swear word since he found out we have kids listening to this.
I tell you what, I think a big difference maker was yesterday, and it was the player that was unable to start due to injury, and that was Holroyd.
Did this game prove, because we said on the last review, Saints game, I said, sorry, Tom Holroyd in this form, it looks like he's going to be our player of the year because he's just absolutely beasting it. Does this game, Phil, just highlight how important Tom Holroyd is to us? Because to be honest, aside from Mick, who we kind of touched on once or twice, I did think our pack were pretty poor.
Yeah. As Pac were poor yesterday, and again, when you speak about leaders from his performances, Tom Holroyd's been great, hasn't he? And we missed him massively. He's got that go forward. He makes good yardage. He's constantly around there working in centre, and I think the other forwards looked up to him as that figurehead of that pack, which we've had with Kylie Luluai, Peacock, all them type of players. Good to see Oledsky, getting some good game time again and that go forward. But to have them two on pitch at the same time, that'll set us as forwards on the right path. But yeah, we missed him massively yesterday. As Pac won good yesterday, didn't get that go forward, and we didn't seem to be able to get into any good position off of that go forward to play any type of rugby, really.
Holroyd was a massive miss yesterday. Do you agree, Dunk?
Yeah, I think he's the starting prop, isn't he?
Yeah,
and we've our pack. There's a lot of impact, but there's not many people who are starting props and who can do that job and provide the impact in the first 20. Tried to get Lasoni to do it, but he's not that. He's the guy that you bring on after 20 minutes when they're tiring. I'd say the same with Sam Walters. I don't think Walters is a starting prop. I think his best performances come when he comes off the bench and he provides that impact for us. But yeah, Holroyd's been absolutely outstanding. He's going to get the 10 shirt next year, I would imagine.
He misses that. He missed that grit. Holroyd is a nasty prop, really, isn't he? He runs in hard. He doesn't finish at the point of contact. He always drives forward. He's putting some shots in defence, left, right, and centre. But that grit, that attitude, was evidently missing yesterday.
We miss his hands and his footwork as well. He's just the all round. He's the all-round prop for Leeds. It's like when Saints don't have Walmsley there. Yeah, I'm going to go there because he's been that good this year.
He's better than Walmsley this year.
He's been the focal point of our pack. He's pretty much carried us when Aledzki's been getting back to fitness.
Yeah.
Other guys have been going in and out like Sangare and Lasoni. Holroyd's been the mainstay and the cornerstone that's been driving the team forward.
Leader of the pack. Anything else before we wrap this one up for the man of the match?
No, not really.
Bentley had a good game apart from that high tackle that let him back into the game as well.
Yeah. Man of the match, Rhys?
That Wigan fan. There you go. I don't know how I can pick a man of the match. It's probably Cammy. If I'm looking at the stats, and I tried to remember most of the game, but I have had to rewatch it because there are certain blurry moments.
My God.
Probably something.
So low for 24 hours watching that back.
Well, I had to watch it back, but it's something to do with those 2-pint pot things. Like, you just shouldn't be allowed to sell them at games. I don't need them. I just get far too giddy when I see it. And it's 2 pints on Madry as well, which is godly awful, by the way. And God knows how much it cost, by the way. I didn't even look. I just tapped and ran away.
Tap the card and walk away.
But yeah, probably Cammy, I think.
Phil, man of the match?
Yeah, Cam Smith, Blake Austin. Like I said, I know Blake Austin set a couple of it, had the assist in it and whatever, but purely just for his work, I'd give it to Cam.
Duncan?
I love the collective sigh that every time it comes to our turn, everyone just goes, "Do I have to?"
Between Cam and Aledzki, I'll give it Aledzki because everyone else has gone Cam.
Well, I'm going Cammy. So the Lot Pod man of the match, Cam Smith. It's a great surprise there. So that therapy session is over, everyone. Take a deep breath, take a sigh, take a stiff drink.
Go hug your mates that you had arguments with on WhatsApp last night. It's fun.
Yeah, just hug it out. We're all friends. All kiss and make up. It's the start of a new week soon. We have once again been linked with Luke Brooks. Previously, about 5, maybe 6 weeks ago, the mole of the worldwide world of sports over in Australia linked Luke Brooks, the halfback from West Tigers, to the Leeds Rhinos. And now, recently, the Daily Telegraph out in Australia is now linking us to Luke Brooks. Does the lady protest too much here, Rhys? Do you think this is getting spouted about a lot for it to happen? Or is it just the usual, Luke Brooks is out of contract and let's get him a new deal in the NRL?
I just on previous evidence on how we've recruited and the money that's not being spent, I just can't see us paying him his salary that he'll want. I mean, he's one of the highest paid players in the NRL, isn't he? So getting him over here would probably cost $400,000 a year, and just on recent evidence, I just don't see us doing it. It feels like the obvious thing to do with our financial availability, if that's the right word, and the gap that we have and the gap that he has in his contract. It just feels like the obvious thing to do, and therefore it won't happen.
Do you agree with that, Duncan?
Well, he's a quality half, isn't he? So he's low on confidence, but he's the type of player that we should be absolutely banging on his door and saying we want him.
He's 200 appearances
said
in the NRL.
It's going to depend on whether Etherington's got his armoured wallet, and he's got very short arms and deep pockets on him, so he's a bit screwed when it comes to handing out the money.
I mean, Luke Brooks, over 200 appearances in the NRL. He's 28. He'll be 29 at the end of this year, so he'll be 29 by the time he comes over for us. It's not exactly like you're signing an NRL has-been or something like that. You're signing a player probably in his prime years. And yeah, he's had a tough couple of years at West, but Duncan's right. It's exactly the sort of player we should be going for. I don't know what you think, Phil.
Yeah, it'll be a bit part of the solution, won't it? But I think, like you said, Uncle Gary doesn't like spending his money. I think he all dips into his wallet once every 5 years. But he's in his prime. He's got all them attributes which we need. He's in his perfect age, prime, 28, 29, as you said. The only thing is the salary cap. And as Eddie touched on, is he just touting himself around so that he gets a better deal over in NRL, or is he seriously consider coming over to Super League? Because if he is, we're in the market for an halfback. Let's break the bank, spend the marquee money, and get him where he should be up at Headingley with us.
And they've changed the rules, haven't they, on the salary cap? So there's now an extra marquee spot if they're homegrown, or if they're from the UK, I think, isn't it? So now there's technically 3 marquee spots. So, and we're losing one of our marquee players, obviously, and we probably should touch on that, and obviously wishing Zane all the best for him. But we're going to have that marquee spot available, and now there's this extra marquee spot available as well in the salary cap. But it all makes sense, other than the fact that we are just going to have to pay up.
Yeah. And if a player like Luke Brooks is available, I say this all the time, if anyone of that kind of pedigree and that age is available from the NRL, like Duncan said earlier, we are Leeds Rhinos and we should be making a play to sign a player of that calibre, because, again, banging the same drum, you've all good age, tons of experience. And to be honest, as I said on the last podcast, the abuse he's had playing for the West Tigers for the last 18 months, 2 years, I think a breakaway and coming to Leeds, coming to Super League, would be good for him to rejuvenate and kind of enjoy his rugby league again. Whether it happens or not, I do. And I kind of said on the last podcast on the mailbag when someone asked about kind of Luke Brooks or halfbacks, but I kind of said the longer this goes on and the more we are linked with him, the more I believe there's a possibility in it. That might just be me, fingers crossed, hoping and praying that it comes true, because something I always say as well is that when other Super League sides sign players, my first thought is, am I jealous? Am I jealous that they've signed that player? For instance, Tom Opachich for Hull KR were like, wow, I'm jealous of that. If Luke Brooks went and signed for Warrington, would the three of you be like, cover your ears, George, shit, we've missed out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, why should Warrington be signing a player that if Warrington could sign him, then we can sign him?
Exactly. That's
Let's
exactly why
be
we should
frank
be in the
with that.
market for him. If he's available and he's coming, bring him in, Gary. Dip your hand into your pockets. So, Rhys, you, as we touched on earlier, you did go to Magic Weekend. Has Magic Weekend finished now? Is that confirmed?
Yes, it has, because Warrington lost in the last
now
game.
Finished. I think there was across the weekend, I think there was just over 64,000.
It was the 6th best attendance that they've ever had. And I had a quick look at it. The majority of the best attendances have been in Newcastle.
Yeah. So, Rhys, you attended it yesterday. Do you think, because there are talks, I'm not sure if it's been confirmed yet, or whether IMG are pulling the plug and this was the last Magic Weekend?
Rodri Jones has said, who is the chief executive of RFL or managing director, I can't remember. But what he said is that IMG's recommendations are that we need to have a better flow of fixtures in our calendar. Yeah. And their suggestion is to move the Challenge Cup forward away from the finish in August bank holiday. But as a result of that, it means that Magic Weekend sort of collides, and therefore they haven't ruled out ending Magic Weekend, but they would need to find a venue in the right time, at the right space that could host it. Now, obviously, this weekend's been perfect because the Premier League is over.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Premier League clubs will be wanting to refit the pitches and all that sort of stuff. They probably won't want 8 games of rugby or 6 games of rugby on the pitch a week before the Premier League season starts. But I mean, I read that the biggest weekend that Magic Weekend had in terms of attendance, it brought something like 4.5 million to the local economy in Newcastle. Yeah. So that I think cities want to host it. But what Roger was saying was that if they can keep it, they would like to, but they have to find the right date and time and venue that's willing to host it.
Do you think?
I think you're missing out massive. I mean, it's the first time I've ever done it, but it's something that it shows everything that's good about rugby league. In that, after the end of every game, there was all at halftime. All the community teams were on there. All the PDRLs, all the community foundation teams were on the pitch from all over rugby league. You've got fans, although I did see one Hull KR fan trying to have a fight with a Salford fan, but that was quite funny. But fans from all different teams, sitting with each other in the stands and in the pubs before the games and having chats and socialise with each other and having a laugh about Daryl Alfort's but everyone coming together. It shows everything that's the best about rugby league. And with the Challenge Cup not being the day it was, the day out that it was, Magic is that. I think it's a success. And like you said, this was a higher attendance than last year, despite the cost of living and despite the fact there was train strikes.
Do you agree, Phil? Magic Weekend, should it stay?
Yeah, and I like all the concept of it. Like I said, Newcastle's a good stadium and a good place to go for the weekend. It does showcase everything around rugby league. I just think unless you're involved in rugby league or aware of Magic, they don't sort of advertise. I know I say advertise it. We're all aware of it because we know what it is. But it's getting them get them new supporters and new people involved. As long as it's done and got all the media marketed in the right way, then we should keep it. But put more emphasis on it, really.
Duncan.
Yeah, I'd keep it. I think like Rhys said, it's a cracking day out. I went last year and I've been to quite a few of them and they've been really good days out. So, yeah, I'd be all in favour of keeping it. But it works well, doesn't it? So the RFL want to get rid of it.
I think it's IMG now.
But IMG came up with a load of recommendations and we've basically just gone, yeah, that won't work. Let's not do that.
I honestly don't think the venue should change. I think Newcastle's a great venue for it. It's kind of equal distance for everyone to travel because everyone has to go up.
The stadium's right in the centre as well, which is
it's help. Right in the centre. Cardiff and Murrayfield, they're long journeys. The 4 or 5 hours of the coach. God forbid, I wouldn't be able to do that yesterday, especially with that sex doll getting blown up next to me. So, yeah, I just think Newcastle's a great place to do it. As Phil said, if you can market it right, you can get new people into the game. 25 quid. We got it for £12.50 as season ticket holders. But 25 quid for a ticket for 3 games. It's worth a punt, in it, for people that never watched the sport before.
Yeah, it is. On to the Wakefield game. That is who we play next. Wakefield away, I believe. I've kind of touched off that. In terms of the squad, Rhys, any changes? We briefly touched on Luke Hooley and Daryl Alfort's being dropped. Not sure if we're expecting anyone back from injury. What kind of squad do you think we'll see or should see, Rhys?
Well, the first thing I want to say about this is that Rob Conlon, the guy from the Square Ball, said about 3 weeks ago that he's never been more convinced that we will lose to Wakefield this season. A bit like that London Broncos game, I think, when we got beat by them. In terms of team selection, if Holroyd's fit, then he needs to be starting.
On the wing?
On the wing, yeah. I'd have Sam Walters on the wing. He's 6'7". Just kick it. You can just put his hand up and catch it.
If that, I'm sure we said this before, but if that genuinely happened, I bet he'd be a great winger. I'm not joking.
It'd be better than spaghetti hands anyway.
Spaghetti. But yeah, I'd be starting Holroyd. I'd be starting Bentley as well in the second row. Probably wouldn't change the halves, but I'd be having Luke Hooley at fullback. And I'd probably move Nene back into centre. I think Lewis needs time, but it's probably a game against Wakefield's probably the game to do it, but maybe having better on the don't know if it's better having him in the wing or not, but Ash needs to be playing fullback and give Luke Hooley his chance. Against Wakefield, it's probably the best opportunity. Just a point, Wakefield are averaging a try a game, by the way, this year. So that means they're going to at least score 4 against us.
Yeah, because it's Luke Gale's debut, isn't it? So
Luke Gale's not played this season, has he? And he will.
The whole Gale force incoming straight into Leeds' face. God almighty, this is just a recipe.
Look, Wakefield scored 6 points. This is before this weekend. So before this weekend, they score 6.4 points a game. They concede 29.4 points a game. They only get a try a game, and they concede 5 tries per game. They make more tackles than anyone else. They roughly make about 419 tackles, and they've also made the least meters per game out of anyone. So I felt all the stats. I mean, it's probably, arguably, one of the worst Super League teams we've ever seen, which absolutely means we're going to throw it away and lose it in the last minute.
Just before I pass the squad question to Duncan and Phil, do you know, off the back of this Cass result, this is the worst fixture for me. I would rather play Wigan away or Catalan away.
I'd rather play Penrith away.
Yeah, I'd rather fly over
Australia.
Fly over and play a Japanese rugby union 7 side. Anything. You know, Orlando Magic, any team but Wake. Anyway, Phil, in terms of the squad, do you agree with Rhys, or any other changes you'd like to see for this?
Yeah, I think they're the ones that have got to be made, aren't they? Alfords has got to be, sent packing. Allroyd again, straight back into there. Bentley again, he's got to start.
Yeah.
I don't think we really can change the halves, can we? You know, if you look who we've got to come in, you know, there's probably only Jack Sinfield or, you know, some other guys in reserves who haven't stepped up to first team squad yet. So I think you've got to keep them the same. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm dreading it. Just a loss to Cass at Magic and then Wakefield away, and you know everybody's going, "Oh, Wakey's got to win one game this season," and the play lead. And you just think, yeah. But yeah, I think them changes make themselves, don't they? I think, you know, that team selection there, that there's a straight swap in with them forwards and see what combinations they can throw together in the backs.
If you think the Rowan out gestures were bad after the Cass game, think about how bad it'll be if we lose to Wakey.
Oh mate, how's he still got a job though? Applegath? How's he got a job?
He's no one else for Wakey.
He said he wasn't worried.
No.
They're probably said we're going to sack you, and Applegath just goes, "Who are you going to get? Huh?
Yeah.
Who's out there?
Yeah.
I'm the best you're going to get." We will get to Duncan.
Yeah.
Same again.
They need to just not have Alfords or Donaldson there. That'll be a start.
It's as simple as that.
And then
just play without them. Just play with 11 men.
Building up to a Gale masterclass and they beat us by a trying last minute, or a Gale drop goal.
So just to wrap this podcast up, this therapy 101 session. Thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate it. Just before you everyone leaves, there is a small donation box at the back. If you'd just like to slip £1 or £2 in, it all goes to the therapy fund. Predictions to wrap things up. I think I'm going to start with Duncan. What do you reckon this one's going to finish, Dunk?
Close game, we get beat.
Score.
If it's a close game, we get beat by a drop goal and it's Gale that'll land it. If it's
there's a lot of ifs here. We talk certainty.
If we win, we will win by 3 or 4 tries.
So your prediction is
20-point win.
20-point win.
32-12.
32-12, my guy. Phil, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we can all see that what may happen, but I think if we get them things right and we all...
Everybody's going to cover the backs just in case.
Bit of a performance. But I think if we open up on them, I think we can put a good point on 38-6, 38-4, like that.
Lovely. Rhys?
I'm fearing the Luke Gale masterclass, but I'm also fearing the Mason Lino masterclass because you won't shut up about him this year.
Because
stupid idea in the entire world. But knowing my luck, Mason Lino will just be absolutely class. I honestly think 22-12.
2.
Leeds. Sorry. Yeah, I should have mentioned that.
Mason Lino masterclass because you bit every time I mentioned him, saying, no, he's shy. He's shy. So if that happens, we can all blame Reed.
He's that shy. He got a 3-year deal at Wakefield.
Unbelievable, that. Unbelievable. Leeds missed out there.
More fool him.
Leeds missed out there. Yeah, more fool him. Phil, Duncan, Rhys, as always, thank you. I'll leave you with this prediction. Leeds by 52. Leeds by 52. Wakefield won't score a point. Richie Myler, hat-trick. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody, for listening on Spotify, iTunes, however you listen to this. Thank you to everybody for engaging with us on the YouTube live chat. We love getting everybody involved with us. We do live stream this podcast. If you are listening back to it on Spotify or iTunes, we do live stream it on our YouTube channel. So if you just search for The Lot Pod, subscribe to us there, hit that notification bell, give us a like. It'll let you know every time we go live to stream this, and you can engage with us in the live chat. Thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll be back to review the Wakefield game on Monday. Cheers.